Bob Bresciani made his way across the lush green grass, trudging his way up to his cabin upon the mountain top. He had been up since 4, engaging in one of his usual morning hunts, and the warm, summer sun was just coming up over the horizon as he approached his destination. This wasn't the best season to capture his mountainside prey. However, he did it more out of habit than necessity at this point. There was something about being outdoors and allowing himself the freedom to enter his bestial mode, something that no other feeling could ever come close to. In his human form, Bob was an old, grizzled man whose body had been ravaged by the combination of time and the punishment he had put it through. In November, he would be turning 75, a fact that had not eluded him. With each step he took up the steep incline, Bob could feel the bones on his knees grind from the years of maltreatment he had placed upon them. "Worth every ache and creak," he thought, with a smile. His body had held up well over time, his muscular frame still present despite the years of intense combat and manual labor he had pushed it through. Even at this age, the man known as Grizzly could still hold his own, if it came down to it. However, Bob hadn't survived this long by being a fool. He recognized that at this stage in his life, his days of fighting were long behind him. Just over the horizon, Bob saw the familiar outline of his mountainside cabin upon the Colorado Rockies. He smiled at the sight, a sense of home overwhelming him. He had built the structure from the ground up once his work with the government was done. After seeing the worst of humanity and metamorphs alike with his own eyes, Bob wanted to avoid civilization as much as possible. He wanted nothing more to do with either species, and this secluded haven allowed him to be amongst the purity of nature and away from the chaos below. Bob kept to himself, mostly, coming down from the mountain only when he had to purchase necessities from the town below. He liked it better that way, and he knew that the creature within liked it better as well. While it was typically during his morning hunts that Bob transformed into his grizzly form, he did allow himself times where he would simply explore the mountain range in his bestial form. There was something about being one with nature, releasing his inner monster, that felt freeing. As he neared his cabin, Bob abruptly stopped, a strange feeling overcoming him. He sniffed the air cautiously, and his eyes narrowed. All of these years in isolation had taught Bob to be extremely cautious and paranoid when it came to his property. He knew when something was amiss, and right now, his senses were through the roof. Something was wrong. He was not alone. Taking a deep breath, Bob felt the creature within start to rise to the surface, and he readied himself for a confrontation. If there were intruders in his home, they would soon discover that they had stumbled upon the wrong place. It was one thing to try to hijack the home of an old military man. It was quite another to successfully pry it from the massive claws of a raging brown bear. Depending on their disposition, Bob was more than happy to introduce the intruders to the latter. Bob calmly walked to his front door and stared at the wooden frame. The door was ajar, although the structure itself not damaged. Whoever the intruder was, they had managed to get in without using any force. More worrying, however, was the fact that they did not seem concerned with Bob knowing about their presence. Bob's eyebrows raised at the thought, and he decided it would be best to show them the error of their overconfidence. He stepped forth and swung the door open, striding calmly through the opening and clenching his scarred fists. Bob expected to see some armed bandits, perhaps even some foolish youngsters trying to vandalize his home on a dare. He had expected to see one of many scenarios that ran through his mind, a habit that still had not left him after his service with the government.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.